Now, we've been through a lot of the Thousand Trails campgrounds, and we travel full time, so we go into all these different campgrounds. Some are good, some are bad, some we're kind of indifferent on. But here we're going to talk about the campground that we just recently spent some time at in the Dallas, Texas area called Thousand Trails Bay Landing. Now, Thousand Trails Bay Landing has some issues. It is, I guess, for the Thousand Trail system, it kind of is what it is. We're going to go through some of this, but I'm going to tell you up front, if you have a need to stay or work in the Dallas-Fort Worth area like we did, like I was doing for a little bit, then it's not a bad place if you know what you're getting into going in. If you're looking for something a little more active like we're used to in some of the Thousand Trails parks, then Bay Landing is not going to be the campground that you want to go to. With the exception of a small handful, and I do mean a small handful, like maybe 10 sites that are going to have 50 amp or even a handful with 30 amp that are going to have sewer. None of your sites are going to have sewer. They're all going to have water and electric only. And the reason for this is there are so many boulders and different things underground that they would have to go in and dynamite blast, and it's just not something that's going to happen. So you're not going to have sewer. You are going to have to use the honey wagon service. $10 Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Get used to it. Resign yourself to that fact, because chances of you getting a sewer site are slim to none, because most of them are occupied by annual residents. There is something that some of you that have been there are going to say, oh, there's 30 amp sewer sites. They do have a different section they call the back 40. This is the first section you come into. It is away from everything. It is 30 amp area with sewer, but they don't advertise it. They don't tell people about it when you check in, because, like the rest of the park, it has electrical issues in this section. So most of it is full-time residents that are over there, and there's just not any spots. The grid just won't support it. So you're just going to have to deal with using the honey wagon. The next issue that we run into, that everybody has there, is the roads going in and out. Now, they try to keep it up and keep the potholes out of it a little bit, but the first rain that comes through, it's going to wash everything out, and you're going to have potholes and bumps everywhere. The plus side of this is Thousand Trails has finally allocated, my understanding, about $750,000 to do proper upgrades on the roadways going in and out of the park. So hopefully this is going to happen this year, and this will help. But for the time being, if you don't have to go in there, I really wouldn't recommend it. And this is June 2023. We've just come out of there. The roads are going to beat you to death. It's going to take you some time to get in and out of the park without just knocking everything in your rig loose. So just expect that. And you're going to need to keep the speed down anyway, because there's deer everywhere. Our next issue that we have with Thousand Trails Bay Landing is the upkeep and maintenance of the landscaping, the mowing, different things like that. Now, in a lot of the parks, things are kept up quite well. What we found in Bay Landing is the landscaping crew comes through, they'll mow around anything that's in their way, and on they go. And when I say they mow around anything that's in their way, I don't mean just your camper. My kids had a bicycle that the wind blew over, and they just mowed around it, left it sitting in a pile of weeds, and kept on going. There is no weeding, there is no upkeep. So if you're there for a week, 2 weeks during the summer when things are really growing, or heaven forbid you're there like we were this last time, and you're there for the 21-day period that you can stay, the weeds are going to get quite tall. They were up above the underside of our camper by the time that we left, because they just don't do anything with it. They mow and that's it. The annual residents tell me that they have to buy their own stuff to upkeep it, because the park just doesn't do it. Another issue that we found, especially going in, if you're going in on a busier weekend, is you're going to have trouble finding a site, because even though the sites may be there, they may not be open. They're closed for one reason or another. They have major electrical issues throughout the park. People run over pedestals and they just close it off and leave it, and nothing really seems to get fixed or kept up in the park. And This park seems to be the worst park that I have found as far as the annual residents there thinking that they own the park, and the rest of us just happen to be there. Most of the Thousand Trails parks all do have annual sites and everything, but it's kind of understood that we all pay into the Thousand Trails system. You know, whether it's you buying an annual site or you buying a Thousand Trails membership, like we have the Elite Connections, or what have you, we all take part in the ownership and interest in these parks, and we all kind of work together. This is the only park where it seems that people coming and going were just kind of the outcasts, that it was very obvious that we weren't really welcome in the park, and there's not a lot of things that go on to kind of bring people in and encourage people to stay involved in this park. They do change the code on the gate here at Thousand Trails Bay Landing once a week. Chances of you finding somebody in the ranger station are very hit and miss. Chances are you're probably going to have to make a phone call when you get there to get somebody to come up to get you checked in and get things going. As far as the bathhouses, there are a couple in each section of the park. We didn't go to the one up in the front section where there's water and sewer. We did use the one in the main section of the park where pretty much everybody ends up. And it's probably one of the most dated and worst shower facilities of any of the Thousand Trails parks that we've been in. The plus side is the laundry is affordable there. You're talking $1.50. For your wash and drying, so they're not really priced up like a lot of the parks are, having to use different apps or different things. Just make sure that you get quarters in town somewhere. They do have them at the ranger station up front, but again, it's hit and miss when you're going to find somebody up there at the entrance to get it. So just grab them in town. There's a couple car washes there in Bridgeport you can grab some quarters out of. They do only have, I think, 3 or 4 washers and dryers there. So just remember to be considerate because a lot of people are using them. There's a lot of annuals through there. Speed limit varies, 35 miles an hour on the main road coming in, and you drops to 15 on the access roads to each section. 5 miles an hour in the campground. There's a lot of wildlife, a lot of deer, a lot of armadillos, a lot of snakes. They're everywhere, especially this time of year. The copperheads and the rattlesnakes are everywhere. So just be aware of that. Now we're going to go through here and we're going to ride around, and we took part in one of the hay rides that they did in the Thousand Trails truck that, as you can tell, we're quite a bit over the 5 miles an hour that you're supposed to be in going to campground, going around. But I'm going to show you around how some of the campground is here and point out some different things as we go. Alright, we're gonna go on a little hay ride. Got a little bit of hay over here. See, got some hay. No tractor. Got a truck. But we're gonna go see if we can find some anemones. Let's go for a ride.